so many things that are going to be
networking
happening there. I don't know if all the listeners have actually seen you in person, but I would say if you want to see this Bongile that you're listening to, you better be there this Saturday. Yeah.
Networking as well?
Networking, of course, yeah. There's going to be, what excited me is I saw a lot of young entrepreneurs. How do you say that?
Entrepreneurs?
Someone said entrepreneur. I said,
Oh, yeah.
which side of the world are you from? Yeah, when someone say entrepreneur, it's a politician. But anyway, I was saying that I was just excited to see so many entrepreneurs registering, and they will be pitching their businesses. They do different sorts of businesses. And there are also people who are just looking for partners,
Yes.
There are people who are also looking for employees as well in their
Others
businesses.
are looking for financial.
Others are looking for skills.
Capital.
So just like you were saying, good opportunity to network as well. So please reach out to us on WhatsApp. Send us the word School of Money. And then we will send you the details. By the way, our WhatsApp line is 0713524581. I'm going to say that again, 071.
A little slower, Muruti.
Okay, 071, there we go, 352 4581, and then just send. We are used for Sunday morning, right?
Yeah,
we always preaching the spirit. Yes, on a high
and on the very same number, the 071-352 number 4581.
Oh, you already
one can.
That's great. I'm impressed.
One can also get the book Life After Death. Yes,
you can actually order my book Life After Death. It's a wonderful, good selling book at the moment. Send us a request on that same number, then I'll give you all the details on how to get that book. We will send it to you anywhere you are in South Africa. You'll get it within 2 days. And last week when we were here, some of our listeners ordered the book.
Looked for the book.
They got it, and I'm glad that my office informed that, the book have been successfully couriered, and they got it within a day or two, and they're excited.
That is awesome. So, Muruti, how much is it for one to be at the School of Money?
Okay, the School of Money is 500 per person, including entrance, food, refreshments, and every fun that's going to be happening around in the place, yes.
And then where do we get the tickets?
The ticket, you send us the word School of Money to 071352.
You don't just rock up.
4581. No, don't just go up. Don't just show up because
today,
you see.
I feel like going to Stellenbosch. It's Saturday the 20th. There's the School of Money.
I would say don't just show up because, look, we need to send you your seat reservation. You need to know where you're coming to sit.
Okay.
And to all the people who have already registered, I really want to advise them to be on time. At least rock up at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Instead of showing up at 4. There's going to be registrations. You need to be tagged. You'll be given, some goodies there to take with you into the facility. But yeah, you can actually register first and get all the information via our WhatsApp line. And then we will see you there on Saturday.
So make sure that you're on time. There will be jazz around that time.
There will be, we will, oh man.
Whilst they're coming in, getting tagged.
I'm excited
meeting
about
other
weekend.
people.
I'm just excited about weekend, yeah. Definitely.
Muruti did a haircut, but let's take a break. We're coming back.
Okay.
Heart to Heart.
He is a faithful God. He's faithful all the time. That is Pastor Tabs David featuring Myra and Miriam Letswalo as well. Myra's Kosana and Miriam Letswalo. And the title of the song is Faithful. You can trust in him at all times. I'm talking to Muruti Lebipi, Pastor Lakili Lebipi. We're talking about inflation today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? The School of Money is happening on Saturday. If you want to know more about the School of Money, send a WhatsApp or call 071-352-4581. Make sure that you are there. He'll be addressing inflation things. He'll be addressing your relationship with money. There are other speakers. You don't want to miss it. And that's the same number if you'd like to order his book, Life After Death. 071
352 4581.
Muruti, what is inflation? Today we are here and what is inflation?
Inflation, that is a topic that has dominated most of public chats and communication, especially since the finance minister gave the budget speech, right? And proposed about up to 16% VAT increase. And from there, a lot of people started fearing and even speaking about inflation.
Even what we see happening with the grants being increased. But still, the VAT is still,
the suggestion of basically having a VAT hike has gotten a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us here, because people start asking themselves questions like,
inflation.
What is this inflation to
inflation
start with? Yes.
So what is it?
Inflation in simple terms means the increase in the price of goods and commodities and services. So when you have food price increase, for example, that's food inflation. So when the price of bread increases, the price of basic commodities like milk, food such as milk, bread, oil. We spoke the other time about the price of eggs. I remember social media making a very big issue out of it. And I remember actually watching, social media people are just crazy with the content here in SA. So this other gentleman has an entourage or like an escort of security guards, armed security guards,
the eggs,
with him walking out of a shop with. Did you see that video? With him walking out of a shop, with a crate of eggs or something like that, and that was because of food inflation at the time. When you start having the price of eggs going up and all of that, and if you think of anything. If someone said to me when I told them I'm going to be speaking about inflation with Zbongile, they said, by the way, there was a time, once upon a time, a taxi fare was like 7 rand.
Now.
And I don't know where it's sitting now.
I think it's 20 or 28, 25.
You can look at everything goes up. Inflation is just a price increase in commodities, in services, and everything that we need to stay alive, particularly food, commodities, and services. Things are just going up. And that's why we are talking about that today. That how do you beat inflation? Basically, how do you survive in a world where even inflation targeting seems to be compromised? Our Reserve Bank will always estimate and say between these financial years, we don't want to exceed this level of inflation in the country, because when prices of goods and commodities and services go up, it does not only affect our livelihood and how you survive, it also affects your investment, because when the rate of inflation is higher than your rate of return, then you are not actually making much of your investment. So today I just wanted us to talk about that and say, what do you actually do in the world of rising costs of everything, when everything seems to be going very high? And I was just having another financial chat with someone. I went to go and look for a high school enrollment for my daughter.
Yeah.
And I was just asking the principal there, what are we looking at in terms of the fees? And imagine for people who have got, let's say, 4 kids or 3 kids, and you spend over 120,000 on just the school fees on one. And the other shocking things, Bongile, it's
on one.
On one, yes.
Okay, so meaning that you're spending 400,000 for all 4 of them.
Exactly.
Okay, cool stuff.
There are people who are at that level. But that's not even the shocker. The shocker is we live in the world where there's cream on top of everything. Everything has a cream on it. For example, if you just think school fees, it's not only school fees. You have to also think about stationery.
You have to also think about their
lunch
gym
boxes.
clothes.
You have to think about their gym clothes, sports clothes, transportation that comes into that. And by the way, it's not just lunch boxes. Sometimes, school vacations happen. At this particular school I went to inquire, they talked about international tours that, I need to be ready for. And they said in the previous years, they took them to Egypt and then they are looking at taking them to maybe the US, and the cost of which might be in around 80. So if your budget was about 120, just thinking about school fees, by the time you factor in textbooks, stationery, school transport, you will be shocked how much. And those are sunk costs. That's what I wanted us to sort of focus on, because a lot of time people struggle with their budget, because when they budget for anything they want to get, they don't think of overheads and sunk costs. And
they just look at what's there.
This cream on top of a cherry or
They're just looking at the black and white.
You look at what is there. For example, if you buy a car, what else have you got to think of? You need to think about, what's the insurance I'm going to pay on the car? How much fuel am I going to pay? What is the service plan, the maintenance plan? And sometimes if you think, well, they say the installment on the car is 10,000. I think I can afford that. My God, by the time they factor in all of these other overheads and sunk costs, you are left shocked and surprised.
And what happens when inflation rises again?
And then on top of all these overheads, then inflation comes into place, and then the price of everything goes very high, Yeah, so that's the frustration. And today I just wanted us to look at, this is a reality for most of us in South Africa. The finance minister estimated, or actually proposed, that they want to increase VAT by 16% or by another 1 percentage points by basically the next financial year, which 0.5 this year, and then the next year 0.5 again.
But is it possible to beat inflation, the rising cost? Is it possible for us to live? Somebody will quickly run to the scripture that says the just shall live by faith.
Yes. And then I will add to that scripture and says faith without action is dead.
So you bring
and
the two
I would
together.
say, okay, let's action that faith. You believe that you can survive in this world of high inflation rates and high cost of living. But you need to action that. There has to be an action plan to that faith for you to actually survive. And that's where financial education and financial literacy comes into place. And just what do you do then when all of these things are this high? I have something I wrote in my book. It's in chapter 5. If you have my book where you are, you can simply turn to chapter 5. I'm just going to paraphrase. In chapter 5, I did a chapter in my book entitled, What Do You Do When Expenses Exceed Your Income? And that is the dilemma and the crisis of many South Africans. What do you do when the cost of living is higher than your salary? It's higher than your salary. What do you actually do then? I think I missed you there. Please make sure I can hear you on the other side.
I was saying then we find ourselves living beyond our means.
Yes, exactly. So in my book, I said, Bongile, there are basically 3 things you must do when you find yourself in the dilemma where the cost of living is higher than your income.
Okay.
I said, and it's easy to remember based on what I am going to say. I said, you must go up or go down, or do both. Do you see how easy is that? I saw you pulled out a notebook. You were ready to write. Continue. That's the most powerful advice, financial advice right there.
You either go up or go down, or you do both.
Go down, or you actually do both.
Is it possible to do both?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I explained in my book what going down. Let's start with going down.
Okay.
Going down. I would say to people who for example, did not see certain overheads coming. Let's say you bought a car.
Yeah.
Man, you just did not know that this car has such high consumption level on fuel. You just never knew. I remember some time back, I owned a V12 supercharged car. And I was coming from a car where going home to Limpopo, I would budget around 1,000 rand. But now I moved to this car where a single trip home would not even be 1,000, wouldn't even make
You
half
have
of
to
that.
top it up?
3 times, 4 times. This car was very angry on petrol. And because it was such a massive car, even the insurance was quite heavy on me on that particular. And the service plan, I remember one time, and this is part of my financial recovery journey, so I might as well share. When I had to change the tires, this car had like 22-inch mag rims, right? If I had to change, the one tire would cost me 5,000 rand to change that.
Yeah.
And then in my journey of now starting to review my debts and fight debts and become debt-free, remember I shared my famous story of how I eradicated more than 1 million.
Yes.
So the first thing I needed to do was to actually let that car go.
Yeah.
In as much as I loved it, in as much as I thought, it gave me the dignity I
Because it was
deserved.
crippling. At the end of the day, it's crippling.
It was a liability.
Yeah.
It was taking out money more than, in fact, it didn't bring in any money more than
It was
taking
taking.
out money. So I needed to downsize.
Yeah.
And, one of the things you have to deal with, obviously, it's, the pride of having to downsize in the process of trying to actually live below your means. And I usually say that we are at a point where life is so expensive. I just gave an example of school fees. I can give you an example of a car. Or I can even top it up and give you an example of a home loan or a house or a mortgage. If you purchase a house, look at what the RNT is, the rates and taxes on that house. We recently went to view on a house in what I call my dream suburb. I won't say where it is, but this is a dream suburb, a place I would think, yeah, man, I need to stay. This is where I want to stay. So, and then we went there to go and have a look at an apartment there. The beauty of that place is they have everything in that community. The schools are there. They are a walking distance. Even kids actually cycle to school or even use their scooter bikes to go to school. And then they've got a shopping mall. They've got a gym. They've got a whole lifestyle center within the walls of that, right? And then, when we got to a part where I wanted to understand what the levies and rates and taxes are, and the lady says to me, well, the rates and taxes aren't that bad. Let me look. And then we look at the price breakdown. And guess what? She says, because you are in a gated community and it's an estate within an estate, then you have to pay 2 levies, right? And it all amounted to about 6,500 on just levy, excluding rates and taxes and excluding electricity, water and utilities. You understand? So someone... And I told this to someone when I left there, and I said, oh my God, my dream place, this is what is happening. And that person said, the 6.5 on the levy is actually someone else's bond. You see? But suppose you did not know where you purchased this house or you purchased this car or where you took your child to school. You were completely unaware of the sunk costs and the overheads. These were the blind spots. You just never saw these things coming. What do? I'm saying life is so expensive, Zbongile, that we, even as financial fitness coaches, we stop telling people that live within your means. We now say live below.
Yeah.
We never say live within your means anymore.
It's much better to be below.
We say actually live below your means. Actually drive a car that is less than the car you can afford. Stay in a house that is less than a house that you can afford. And sometimes people get angry when you say that and say, what's the use of working? It's because we want to put you on a journey of wealth creation. Because you see, the wealth creation equation is very simple. Somebody told me, quickly, tell me 3 things I need to do to be wealthy. I said, okay, I'll give you 3. Number 1, you spend less so that you can save more and invest. Simple. You spend less so that you can save the difference And then you use the difference you saved to invest. That's how all millionaires became millionaires. Millionaires become millionaires by saving less, and then, I mean, by spending less, saving more, and investing more. But you see, the people who struggle financially have it all twisted around. They spend more, save nothing, invest nothing. So they live hand to mouth. They live at the mercy of a paycheck, and they are in this red race where they are in an ever-ending cycle of paying off for debts. But if you get that equation straight, I'm going to start spending less. I will adjust. I'll do a lifestyle audit on myself and look at items in my spending life that I can cut off in order for me to be able to create an excess that I can save and then invest. Because for as long as you are living on the pitch, that's why the other statistics says that among the working class, people get broke on the third day after payday. And it's because, you see, once they get paid, they pay everything to the dot. By the time their mortgage has paid up, and the car is paid up, and the insurances is paid up. And it is even said in another set statistics that over 40% of motor users in South Africa are not insured. They are not insured.
Yeah.
So they drive uninsured cars because the only thing they can afford is to pay an installment,
For the
on
installment
the
of the car,
and then
but
the
not
operational
adding
costs
anything
like
else.
petrol and so forth. And some don't even have a maintenance plan on the car and so forth. That's what happens when you live above your means. So in the face of rising inflation rate, the first thing to do, as I said, is to go down. And going down means I'm gonna make some uncomfortable but very necessary adjustments on my spending habits. I'm gonna start cutting down on some expenses. Let me give you some crazy examples of what I did then. I had to cut down. I shared this with you one day and you had your eyes popped up. You were surprised when I said to you, I used to eat out almost every day.
Yes.
And it's not uncommon. There are people who buy lunch boxes at work each and every day. Yes, they've got a canteen or a restaurant at work, and each and every day they go and spend their money there. One woman who bought my book actually said to me, when I read the chapter about adjusting expenses, I started looking at the slips. I went through my bank statement to see how much I spend on takeaways, because whenever I'm at work, I don't take lunch boxes and I don't cook. And every time I come back from home, I'm too tired. Then I take my kids out to go and eat. She said that for the first time, I came to a shocking realization that I'm actually spending over 4,600 a month, which is 30% of my income.
She could have saved.
She could have saved that money. So I know what people say when you come with financial fitness. People always are quick to respond and say, I have nothing to save. No, I've got nothing to save. My salary is just little. You don't understand
it's a
that.
hand-to-mouth thing.
Yeah, they'll tell you, no, don't coach me. Just give me more money. And we have seen that financial struggles are not necessarily, the function of how much you get. It is
in the management.
It is in the management.
All
It's
right.
always in the management.
Okay, let's take a break, Buruti, and then come back. Family, the lines are open for you. You can ask questions on 012-334-1322, 012-334-1322, and our WhatsApp line 082-657-2729. We're streaming live on Facebook. Our SMS line 37871. Rabuha.
I don't know if I'm Zulu or Sutu. I have no clue. But if I can get some African
On Radio Pulpit. Heart to heart. Faith, hope, and love. Experience victory in your life on 657 AM.
iRadio Pulpit 657 AM. Umhlobo kwabo banhliziyo zidakumbileyo. Simamele kwi-app okanye utyelele uradiopulpit.co.za.
That is Pastor Tony McClurkin featuring Mahalia Buchanan, featuring Mabongi Mabaso, featuring, who else was featured there? Mabongi Mabaso. I think Ntokozo Mbambo as well. Akekho ofana noJesu, akekho ofana naye. And he says, I don't know if I'm Zulu or I am Kautra Muruti Levipi on the other side saying, yo.
You seem to be struggling with pronouncing today.
Zulu.
I'm sure you had a strong coffee this morning. Some words are not coming out.
Muruti, we are still on inflation, and you were talking about how we can beat the rising prices by adjusting and going a notch down.
Going down? Are you still writing? Because you started writing. You were ready for a full paragraph. So I said you go down, and we explained what going down is. More details are in my book.
And I remember one of the famous talk show hosts who says he had to literally also go down.
That's the only way.
Because he had school, he had a family, but inflation was going up and he couldn't afford all of that.
Yes.
He ended up riding a bicycle to school and to work at that time.
Well, we're not going to scare our listeners and say, reduce yourself to a bicycle.
Yeah, but I'm just making an example.
Exactly.
And then he said they
believe
moved
Believe me, I see in financial fitness coaching, there is always something you can cut.
Yeah,
and it's not until you are deliberate. Some people don't want to start. That's the problem. There are people who have a wall. They've got a psychological barrier that says, no, don't tell me anything.
But you said
my problem is I'm not getting paid enough. And when you say to them, no, but you can cut, they say, no, you don't understand. There is nothing in my entire life that I can cut. And I can tell you myself as someone that is recovered from over 1 million rands of debts that it's possible. But you gotta be willing to go down. That's the first thing.
But now you mentioned it. You said check your pride.
Exactly.
That's where the problem lies. Check your pride.
The pride, yes. You need to be willing. And you know what makes you, I'll tell you this. This I need to say.
Okay.
What makes you willing to go through the process of adjustment and lifestyle review, right? It's the motivation. You have to have pictures of your life after death. That's what my book is entitled. You see, my book is called Life After Death. You know why? Because when I was going through my debt review and debt eradication period, there was something in my mind and in my imagination that kept me going, that made me to become okay with downsizing my cars, to become okay with selling off certain things. My gadgets, these expensive gadgets that I had, I could let go. The expensive watches I had, I could let go. And the most expensive place I used to rent out at, I could let that one go and go to a cheaper place. Why? Because I had an image of life after death. That's what kept me motivated. I said, this is hard for me to do at the moment, but I want to be at a place, now listen to this, I want to be at a place where I save what others are paying. Do you see? I want to arrive where I can save what others are paying. What are other people paying for? They're paying for cars. So instead of paying 10,000 on a car installment, that's exactly what I'm saving.
Okay. Muruti, there's one thing I want to ask.
The joy of that. The joy of seeing myself, in a plane, on a vacation, affording things I don't afford because of debt.
I'm going back to the story of the presenter that I was talking about.
The cyclist. Sorry, I almost called him a cyclist.
Omar. But now, when he was telling his story, he had risen up from where he was with the bike and all that, because he had to move from a certain kind of a house, move to an apartment which was lesser and all. But now he's back.
He's back.
So, but now
and comfortably so, not just back, because you see,
Okay, that's
It's
where I
one
want you to
thing
come in, Vet.
yes, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to let you
No,
say
no,
it.
no. Yes, Muruti.
It's one thing to say, okay, the difference between me driving a car now and driving a car then, and now, I mean driving a car life after death
yeah.
and driving a car life before death.
yes.
The difference is that car was not a blessing to me. You know, there's a scripture that says the blessing of the Lord
maketh rich,
but
and it brings
also
no sorrow.
Yeah. So there are people who look rich, right? Because of the car they drive, the label of clothes they wear, but they are living a miserable life. You know, what's the use of driving this fancy car when you're skipping calls from the bank that threatens to repossess the very same car, or running low on fuel while just holding on to a status that I'm driving this, E-level car. It's not so. I had to come to terms with the fact that, success, it's more of living a comfortable life than a life that is impressive to other people who are looking at you. Success is more comfort. You are comfortable in your own space. It's not more about how people think about you, what they say, what they see in you. It's, are you comfortable? Can you afford? Success for me is affordability. Can you afford to go on a vacation out of credit card, pay everything in advance and stay in your dream hotel? Can you afford to pay a car cash? Just like that, walk out from a dealership with a brand new car that has been paid off cash. Can you afford to advance your children's school fees 12 months in advance? That is what financial success is about. And if that is the kind of imagination, the fantasy that dominates your thinking while you are in the process of recovering from debts, you are going to have the discipline. You are going to have the sacrifice, because it's not easy, to adjust your life. But the motivation is going to be the life after debts.
Yeah. Then that is the real success.
Yes, that's what
that
my
is
book,
true
that's
success.
what my book is called, Life After Debts. Yes. Yeah.
We left the family hanging when you are going up. You said you either go up or you go down, or you do them both.
You do them both. Yes, we talked about going down, right?
Yes.
Going up, I have got a famous quote that it must be titled to me, because I've never heard anyone say that except me. This is what I say. Every year is an opportunity to grow, not an opportunity to age. Now, I'm going to say that again. Each year is an opportunity to grow and not an opportunity to age. So I say that because personal development is very important. Your salary or your income, it's directly proportional to your personal development. Do you develop yourself each year? When you get into 2025, what are you going to have in December of 2025 that you did not have last year? So the only difference between this year and last year shouldn't just be a new age that you added to the number, that I'm older. I've started realizing gray hair this year that I didn't have then. No, it's the amount of knowledge that you have this year. What skill sets have you added to your profile this year that you did not have last year? So that's what going up means. Now, in you fighting with the rising cost of living, did you add a new skill set to your life that can earn you passive income? What have you added to your CV this year that is going to be a channel of income generation? Have you added an income generating asset this year? Because that's what going up is. Going up is actually meaning developing yourself, personal development, upskilling yourself. I always say that the level of your learning determines the level of your earning. The level of your learning determines the level of your earning. The more you know, the more you grow. That's why you must invest in books like Life After Death. That's why you must invest in, programs like School of Money. That's why you must invest in financial literacy, financial education. And I can tell you, just like anybody else who's a student of financial literacy can tell you, that my financial life has changed radically ever since I started investing in financial education. So going up again also means earning passive income. In my book, I talk about 7 ways to earn passive income. 7 ways. Some people only know one way, which is, well, you have to get a job and get a salary. But there are 7 different ways that I talk about in my book, 7 different ways of earning income that you can get in my book. But going up is that it's apart from your salary. Is there a product or a service outside your occupation that you can sell or service to the public that can earn you additional income? That's what going up means. So what you do on the other side is you go down. That means you are cutting down your expenses. But on the other side, you are increasing now your income. And that is how you will get out of this drowning experience of the rising cost of living.
Yeah. They call it passive income?
Passive income, yes. Yes,
Philip
passive income.
Masango. Isikhathi sethu sihambile. But let's see. Good day, beloved. Wow, what a powerful, workable tool. I could afford to stay in suburbs, but I decided to buy a house in township suburbs. My previous manager gave me a simple tool to manage my finance. He told me, if you fail to understand the value of 10 rand, you will never understand the value of 1,000 and 1,000,000. In short, he helped me to pay my bond in 9 years rather than... Oh, it deserves
You
this.
forgot
It
the
deserves
effect.
it. Yeah.
In 9 years.
In 9 years.
Wow, that's below
Rather than
half
20.
record
Of
time.
course.
And by the way, there are extended home loans now that goes up to 30 years. So if you could beat it up in 9 years, Philip, thumbs up to you, my brother.
And then
Good.
he told me to double my bond mortgage amount for each month.
And guess
That's
what?
how.
If you have paid up that mortgage, you now have an asset. You actually have a net worth. One day I'm going to talk about net worth, because until you have a net worth, you are not rich. Rich is the measurement of net worth. What do you have in asset value that can be converted from that asset value and make you a cash millionaire? So you've got 2 kinds of millionaires. You've got asset millionaires, or net worth millionaires, and then cash millionaires. So most of the time when you tell people I'm a millionaire, they think you've got 2 million or 10 million in your account. No, but that's not safe. You can't have 10 million in your account. You will have a reason each and every second to spend it. You simply convert it into asset values and you become a net worth millionaire. And I'm just saying to Philip, that's it. If you paid off your bond in 9 years, wow, you have a net worth to talk about.
We are grateful for that, the manager, ne? We are grateful for that manager's advice. Oh, wow. Philip, that is awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your journey.
And I don't want to close this show without saying, there's a chapter in my book. If you have it, please read it, The Cash Flow Quadrant. It's the biggest mistake people commit. I know people have read The Cash Flow Quadrant from a famous author, but I wanted to demystify a myth there, because I have to say it now that we said you must do both. That means go down and earn a passive income. So some people think for them to make it financially, they must resign. They must leave their jobs, right?
Yeah.
Because of what they read from the Cash Flow Quadrant book, they were told that you can only become the millionaire on the right side of the quadrant. So as long as you are earning an income in a form of being an employee, you're not going to be. That's what the Cash Flow Quadrant has taught them. So I've seen people making mistake, leaving their jobs, taking an early retirement package,
and losing it as well.
Investing it in a platform or an investment asset they have no idea about, and
that's
losing
why I say
everything.
Losing it.
Exactly.
Why,
so we're saying you can do both. You can go down and go up, or do both at the same time. You can earn a passive income, honestly, while you are still working.
Family, you definitely want to meet Muruti Lebepi. You definitely want to
I have
come
a lot to say,
on-
but I will
on
reserve it for Saturday. Yeah. Oh, I just
You
felt the energy,
definitely want to
the
meet him on
sugar,
Saturday.
not the diabetic thought, but the sugar level coming up as I talked about the cash flow quadrant, because that's what I want to emphasize on Saturday to our audience.
All right. And so do come on Saturday. It's happening from 4 o'clock up until
4 p.m. Yes,
in the night.
guys, it's a month.
I don't want to say
Saturday,
until
man.
at 8 o'clock, because when I was talking to Muruti, but we'll just say at 8 o'clock.
But what
there's
is wrong with 8
jazz.
o'clock?
No, because
Is that your
we-
sleeping time?
Because when we spoke to Muruti, I know we might we might go beyond.
Yeah, but you
8
worried me
o'clock.
when you said, "Do you think we might go above 8?" I thought, why? Is it your cut-off time? Do you sleep at 8 or what?
No, there's jazz. I know. When there's jazz and networking.
We can go on for some time.
When there's
Ipo,
jazz and networking.
Please come. Let's have fun. Let's dance. Let's
And there's
listen to
gospel
jazz
as well.
Yes, I think I might hijack you to a dancing stage and see you off the mic and on the dance floor for the first time.
Yeah, so Muruti Lebepe will be there. Muruti, you're not the only speaker on
Yes,
Saturday.
I've got
Who
a
else?
dear friend of mine, a very successful entrepreneur, who's also a global coach. He more speaks to entrepreneurs, but also a stand-up comedian as well. It's really going to be nice, guys. Honestly, please come there, and I'll be happy to meet you in person.
Yeah, that is so awesome. But if you want to be part of the School of Money on Saturday, the 29th, do send a WhatsApp to 071 352 4581. If you also are looking for the book Life
Same
After
number.
Death, the
Yes.
same number 071 352 4581. I promise you, family, Muruti is not leaving. He'll still come back. Hey, we need him back. Ne, Philip, Thelma,
Yes.
we need Amelia. We need him back.
We
he
are
has to
coming
come
back. Definitely.
But yeah, for the School of Money, for the ordering of the book, do you remember for the School of Money, it costs 500 rands per person. And the book, it's 350 per person, wherever you at, Kuiertyd to you, 350. So do call or send a WhatsApp. It's easier if you send a WhatsApp to 071 352 4581. Muruti, thank you so much for coming through.
That is me getting ready for the School of Money.
Yeah, it's
We'll meet
already,
again
we're
soon.
feeling it.
Yeah. All right.
Radio that changes lives. Tune in to your daily companion on Radio Pulpit 6